Okay, so we're back at the office now, and like I said in the last episode, we're gonna regroup. We have regrouped. Remember I said there was an engineer? An engineer went. He has found some significant problems with this renovation, and I have to go upstairs right now in the office and discuss it with Dustin. Dustin is actually the original designer that designed this basement. Too bad for him, none of his plans were actually followed and no inspections were actually called, but he's willing to help us now fix this botched renovation, the second botched renovation that I've done. Well, we really have to dig down. A lot of what happens with contracting happens behind the scenes. It's not always about swinging the hammer. Let's go upstairs. Let's learn something new. Anyone can show up with a hammer and build something. It's really hard to build it properly. Sewage air is coming out of this. There's no reason to be left like this. Absolutely none. An experienced contractor never would have done it.
Every year, you're gonna be repainting that thing.
Once you start,
right?
That's
You're
it.
done.
This gives you an opportunity to get out before it gets too expensive. A lot of what happens with contracting happens behind the scenes. It's not always about swinging the hammer. Don't put that on camera.
I understand what you're saying, but the code is the code.
If there's a fire that takes place,
That's not you.
Okay.
I bought something for you.
That's not you.
I'm looking forward to getting at it. Let's do it. Dustin, am I ever happy to see you?
Definitely.
I'm really happy that you're here. I'm really happy here because we're having this podcast style conversation so that homeowners and people watching our channel can really understand that secondary dwellings are expensive. It is not, there's no such thing as like a simple granny suite where, you know, grandma's gonna go live downstairs in a room, have a kitchen and stuff like that. It's easy to build it once you have all these plans, but a lot of the work is what you do behind the scenes and no one gives you credit for that, I'm sure.
Well, yes and no, people like you do, but I mean, my job is to also explain to the homeowners and how they work and you know, and what they're getting involved in. I work with a lot of investors that just keep doing it over and over and they know,
They know
the
what
typical,
they're doing.
yeah.
I have the building inspection report, okay, and we have the plans that you had originally drawn. And I highlighted some things that I wanted to chat with you about, and I have a solution for the soundproofing. I chatted with the city about it, but you need to draw it.
Definitely. Part of the requirements are to redraw things, and that's part of the process, and make sure everything meets building code when we have issues like that.
The thermal insulation was missing in the bedroom, so that's the fire and the sound they were using, right? They were using Roxol for the soundproofing.
Only the Roxol.
Now, when we were there, the city inspector failed the insulation install in the floor space because there were too many gaps. There were large areas missing. It was kind of pushed in and collapsed, right? So when we're putting insulation in, we want to make sure it remains fluffy. I want to leave as much of the insulation up there as possible because the process of removing it and putting it back in is going to make it all tear and make it all really, you know.
Yeah, someone's already paid for that product, so why redo it if you don't have to?
Right, but I still need to get it up to 51, which is not what I want to use. In a secondary dwelling unit, there has to be a certain amount of sound resistance transfer between the first unit and the second unit. So this was a basement that we did. You have to think of that basement as like another townhome, like that partition wall or that party wall. It needs to be insulated in a certain way. But in secondary dwellings, obviously, it's quite complicated because there's a lot of ductwork that gets in the way. There's a lot of electrical, plumbing, all of those things that can get in the way. So what I'm trying to do here is create a real like good sound barrier between the upstairs unit and the downstairs unit. And that's what we're talking about. I want to solve this problem. I have a product in mind. We actually had them come out to the office and chit chat with us, and I believe it's going to work, but we need to update the assembly. And when I say update the assembly, what I'm basically saying is update the drawings. What I want to use, and I have it here, this is from Sonopan. What I want to use is this product. They've actually agreed to donate some of this stuff for the Diamond Street project. This is by itself STC 27.
Wow, so that's almost already half of what is needed in an assembly. So, you know, common sense and math.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know?
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is I would like to leave all the existing insulation up, add insulation where it's missing, put this underneath it, then do my C-channel, then do my 5/8 drywall. And that should get me far exceeding 51.
Definitely.
For the fire rating though, it's really about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really about the 5/8 gyprock that we're looking at, right?
Fire rating that's the most important part. You know, Type X drywall, which is a fire rated drywall, as you know.
It's basically just a thicker drywall.
Yep.
Most times it's half inch. This is going to be 5/8 of an
Yep,
inch.
because even half-inch drywall has a certain fire rating, just not enough to meet it for the assemblies.
Right, and we're looking at getting about 30 or 45 minutes of burn time is what we're looking for, right?
Yep, exactly.
The bathroom fan inside there is not fire rated at all, right? They treat it like a normal bathroom fan.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not how you do bathroom fans or any exhaust fans. You actually have to create a fire-rated channel inside the joist cavity.
Right.
Any qualified contractor that's done these typical projects, they have no choice to do these things because they will fail inspections.
So my intention here, and I just wanted to run it past you, was to glue 5/8 gyprock to the underside of the joist, right? And then have my ductwork that's insulated go through it. And my fan will also be encased in that gyprock.
And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're creating a barrier of fire. That's what you have to remember, and it's the drywall that's the barrier of fire, really.
Okay, so this brings up another great question. So I think we're good on this. I'm gonna move forward. I'll get you to update these plans.
Yeah.
We'll resubmit them to the city. That takes care of sound, and we use 5/8. That takes care of fire. So we're talking about the dryer vent. One of the things that the city noticed is that the contractor did not build to plan here.
Okay. Now I'm a bit worried. How much plans are we off here?
Quite a bit.
So whenever someone doesn't follow our plans, there could be significant problems with that. And I need to be aware right away if there are changes to the plans, because that could be building code violations. Looking at the plans, we have washer dryer in the actual washroom with the toilet, vanity, and shower, and we have a little closet in here. So yeah, that was the proposed location.
Right. So what actually got built is the washing machine is here inside of a closet that you enter from this way.
Okay,
So-
it's still a bathroom and it's still a washroom.
Yeah, it's still a bathroom. We still have the washer and dryer
Yep.
in about the similar location.
Okay.
But there's also a fireplace here.
Oh, wow. So this is a significant potential problem building code wise.
Okay.
Now they've just entered the living room. We have minimum dimensions and square footage that we need to respect to be considered a living room, and adding that fireplace
Might take away.
and will take away from the square footages. We have to designate certain spaces, even if it's not maybe used like that, to meet the building codes. That's why there's square footages, and that's why there's these hatches to prove to them the square footages.
So these
what
hatches
we're doing.
here on the...
Exactly. And also, based on the square footage of the room, will dictate how much natural light you need, which dictates the size of the windows as well. So when you start messing around with your fireplace, now you're potentially ruining your entire design and the way the city looks at it. Mm-hmm. So this needs to be brought up right away if there's any changes. Definitely, we're gonna have to remeasure. We might, have to come up with some sort of alternative plan. Depending on how significant this fireplace and changing, and unfortunately, sometimes we have no choice and we may not be able to have the fireplace. Mm-hmm. So I wish I would have been contacted ahead of time to advise, people as they do things.
The other thing is these closet spaces here didn't go in.
Okay, that's the proposed bedroom.
Yeah,
Okay.
so in the same with the bedroom, so there's no closets here. There's actually just IKEA Vestas.
So that's okay as long as they're fixed.
Just help me understand this. And I mean this in the nicest way.
Yep.
Why does the city care?
Well, to
What
call
is
it a
that?
bedroom, we need a closet.
So it's just about calling it a bedroom.
Yeah, and part of having a requirement as a bedroom is because they need a closet. That's what defines a bedroom as well. And so they give you the option of having a wardrobe attached or making a closet.
Okay.
And if we don't, they could classify this as a bachelor apartment, and we don't want to do that either. We want to keep
What's the difference?
Well, I mean, a bachelor apartment is just it's less space.
Okay.
It's more valuable as a project if there's a one bedroom over a bachelor. You can rent it for more,
Okay.
which is one of the reasons when
So
we're
we're
hired.
talking about selling a property and how we describe the property
Exactly.
legally.
Yep.
Okay.
So when homeowners come to me and I'm trying to explain to them the options with their secondary dwelling, and we're often saying, well, we want more bedrooms, and how
Right.
do I do that? So my job is
Yeah, and there's a significant difference. I mean, we're kind of going off topic
Yeah.
here, but there's a significant difference between just finishing your basement and putting a bedroom in and building a secondary dwelling.
significant, definitely.
Right. Fire
Yep.
rating being one of them.
Yep.
What I think we should do is let's flip over to the schedule. That's the schedule of the assemblies of the windows. Let's talk about that.
Basically, what we're doing here is we're describing what is needed building code wise for the city to understand that we've designed this right. So with these calculations, which is why it's important to have the right square footages for the rooms, will dictate the size of the windows.
From what I seen there, the fireplace was put in after the fact. Like the electrical outlet is way in the back. The floor is finished underneath it and heated underneath
The floor
it.
is finished underneath it?
Yeah, and heated. Because I think the heated floor was put in as an afterthought.
Yep.
I think it was very cold. So he was playing around because the heated floors weren't working. We know that
Oh my
that there's
God.
a ton of problems with the heated floors. That's the electrician's thing. But they've put the fireplace in after the fact.
Yeah, so this wasn't thought out properly.
No,
throughout
not even close. All of these things are fixable. We fixed the fire rating, we fixed the soundproofing. We can remeasure and hopefully play around with the numbers to make sure they jive. We've talked about the fact that we need windows.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Contractor comes, cuts a hole in the concrete,
Yeah.
pops in a window. Done, right?
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy?
No.
No? Not done.
Let me guess. Did he forget something? Did he forget the lintel? Did he forget the
Yeah,
I have a
exactly.
feeling this is where this is going.
It's where it's going. So whenever we're doing any type of structure work, if we're ever holding something up, we always get an engineer involved. It's considered structure. In this case, they cut a hole in the concrete, they put a window. And while it's working right now, the issue is over time, concrete can, it breaks, it cracks, all this stuff, especially where we live with the climate that we have here in Canada. So we want to put a lintel, which is basically just a metal L channel on both sides of that to hold it up. So we're going to call an engineer. He's going to get us a letter, and then we're just going to follow exactly what it says. Okay, what's out there is a crooked window well with a big hole in it.
Oh, so you're redoing all of it.
We're doing
Okay,
all of it.
all right.
But we can buy a window well that has steps built right in. So now we have a very deep window well. We also have a concrete header that is not supported. Right above the concrete, there's actually 2 LVLs because there's a fireplace that cantilevers out on the main level.
On that particular case, okay.
Yeah. We get phone calls as a construction company, we get phone calls and people are like, hey, I want to do this. And they think it's, about cost the same as to finish the basement as it would to do this, but it's normally about double.
Yep, I would say minimum double. And if they have hard time understanding, well, that's part of, us explaining it to them as proper professionals.
Yeah. That concludes all the stuff I have to talk about. Thank you for coming. Thank you for talking to the YouTube audience about how complicated this is.
I mean, it's part of my world and I like educating.
Our world.
Yeah, our world.
Thanks for coming along for this podcast style interview with Dustin. You heard Dustin's talk about how the partnerships are important, and I cannot stress that enough. We are here doing a video series that's for you, the homeowner who wants to know a little bit more about what happens behind the scenes, and those partnerships are important. Look, we reached out to Sonopan. We have a solution for the fire rating and the soundproofing. That is awesome. Dustin will draw that in, we'll get it approved, and we'll do that. Now, this wasn't the most exciting. There was no hammers involved in this episode, but that goes to prove what happens behind the scenes in a renovation is complex. It's not always about swinging the hammer. And then when you're hiring a general contractor, you should be hiring a team. Electricians, plumbers, draftspeople, all of those people, engineers, make renovations go smoothly. So if you don't have those people and you don't know about it, you don't know if those people are on site, that could be a problem for you. Hey, look, if you enjoy this type of content and you're looking forward to us going back to Diamond and really digging in and getting it fixed, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're bound to learn a lot, and I'm hoping that it's going to be entertaining as well.